Well, good morning, everyone. This wet, very, very wet, flooding day. It's flooding here where I am in my part of the
Yeah.
world. And here at Bronie's desk today, we have my beautiful friend all the way from the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, the
Yes.
amazing Pharmacist Ben. And today I have asked him to speak on eyesight. There are many eyesight issues, and it's just growing, getting worse because of these things and
Yeah.
the blue
That's not helping.
lights and so forth. So I thought it was a good subject to talk about how we can take care of our eye health and a few tips that we can give people so that they're not getting bad. I mean, I was born with bad eyesight. So, long-sighted in one eye, short-sighted in the other. So I was behind the eight ball to start with. But still, I have found in the last 4 or 5 years that I've actually been able to do things to improve my eyesight, particularly my long-sightedness. I
What do you do?
actually, I actually find that I have to take my glasses off when I'm doing long distance driving to be able to
Nice.
see the road and
Very
see the
nice.
signs. And it's clearer. So anyway, without
Are
any
you doing
more,
Are you doing exercises? Eye exercises? Is that what you're doing?
well, not as much as I should, but I found a little magic pill that helps me.
Oh, I can't see what it is, but I imagine it's occupative or
Yes.
can't occupative. Okay, gotcha.
Along with the 90, because that's the important bit, and getting rid of stopping eating all those bad foods that were obviously causing my gut to be an issue and stopping me from absorbing things. But they're not the only things that can help with improving our eyesight. But when I remember, I do eye exercises because when I was younger, when I was 7, not Kevin, but 7, was when I was given glasses for my 7th birthday. That was my birthday present. And I had to do all these eye exercises. And I tell you what, trying to get a little kid to do eye exercises is not nice. They used to put patch over my good eye so that my bad eye would. Anyway, that's a
That's the
trauma
best
I
way to.
really don't like.
Well, that's the best way to take care of. Well, there's two aspects to eye health. One is the tissue, the eye tissue itself, the retina and the lens and the various structures of the eye, the actual tissue. And then there's also the muscles that control the eye, and a lot of eye health challenges, nearsighted and farsightedness, particularly, are the end result of eye muscle issues. So working on eye muscles is a tried and true mechanism for improving the health of the eyes and also strengthening the eye muscle and the connective tissue. And a couple of weeks ago, we also talked about glaucoma. I think we did on the show,
Yeah.
right? A glaucoma, how that's a connective tissue concern. So there's lots of things you could do for your eyes, but basically they involve the whole body. And I talked about this earlier on this radio show I was just doing. We look at the body as being composed of individual parts. This is a lie, a myth, an illusion, a delusion. The body is not made of individual parts. Where does the heart end? Where does the heart end? Where does the pancreas end? They don't end where you see the little organ end because they all have connections going everywhere. They don't end. It's like the sun. Where does the sun end? Does it end anywhere?
No.
It's all one thing. The rays come down and they hit the earth, and it's all one thing. And we have to start looking at our world in general and our body in specific as a system. So you work on the eyes by working on your belly. You work on your eyes by working on the system. You work on any part of the body by focusing on the foundations of the system. And then everything falls into place. We have a medical model, and we've all fallen into it in a hypnotic trance, like sleepwalkers into it, where we just have a heart problem, we go to the cardiologist. We have a hormone problem, we go to the endocrinologist. We got a female problem, we got an OBGYN. We go to the brain problem, we go to the neurologist. You got an allergy, you go to the immunologist. You got skin problem, you go to the dermatologist. You go to we got these different doctors' specialties for different organs. That's not how it works. Now, in fairness, this idea of systems did not come into the cultural zeitgeist, into our awareness until the 1940s. We didn't really know we didn't understand the systems as a science to it. There's actually a form of thinking called systems thinking, where you think in systems. And we have to understand the body as a system, but we don't, because our medical paradigms are from the 15th century. They're from 500 years ago. They're backwards. We haven't advanced. Systems theory came up in 1940. A guy named Claude Shannon started it, and that's from that point on we got computers and iPhones and digital equipment, and now we understand that information is paramount, and information in the body shows up as systems. And so you got to work on the systems, the great systems of the body. What are the great systems of the body? The metabolic system. That's the blood sugar system. The digestive system. We talk about that all the time. The steroid hormone system. I call it the adrenal thyroid complex, but you could call it the endocrine system, the steroid endocrine system in particular. And that's what I call the adrenal thyroid complex. And guess what that is? That's the triangle of disease. The triangle of disease leverages the great systems of the body, the meta systems of the body. And by working on the meta systems, everything falls into place. So you ask about eye health, guess what I'm going to tell you? What do you think I'm going to tell you based on everything I just said?
To look at the whole system, starting with
the great systems, the meta systems, the systems of systems, which is the digestive system and the metabolic system.
Yeah.
And if you really want to go all out, the endocrine system. But just all you really need is the digestive system and the metabolic system. And the reason these are the meta systems, the systems of systems, is because these are how the outside world interacts with the inside world. This is our point of interaction. Through what? Food. And while I may sound like I'm some kind of food guy, I know I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Maybe there's some new people out there. I'm not a food guy. I'm not about eat your vegetables and eat organic and, the little finger wagging thing, what you should eat, what you don't eat. I don't do that. I'm just telling you from a biochemical, from a biological, from a pathological, from an immunological perspective. That's the place where the outside world meets the inside world, where the closed system opens up. Body's a closed system, a circle with no holes in it, except for the digestive system, which then ends up being the metabolic system. The metabolic system and the digestive system are very interesting how they relate to each other. The digestive system takes big chunks of stuff and breaks it down into its tiniest little parts. So you eat a hamburger, the digestive system turns it into amino acids and fatty acids and sugars and all the components of a hamburger, whatever it is you're eating. That's what the digestive system does. And when we think about it, that's pretty darn amazing. I once saw this thing on the Discovery Channel. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah, we have that.
You have that here, okay, in there. So it was a guy who developed an artificial digestive system. And this artificial digestive system was as big as a house, almost. Not quite, but almost as big as a house. And it had all these contraptions and channels and pipes and tubes and liquid secretions. And it was an analog of the digestive system, but mechanical. And in order to do it, he had to fill up almost an entire house. And he put food in the top, and the thing whirred and made all the kind of stuff it did. And out the other end came a little piece of poop. No kidding. It just did it like a digestive system, but it was as big as a freaking house almost.
And that's what's inside of us.
That's what's inside of us. But it's even more better than that because it's intelligent. It's adaptive. It's responsive. So praise God, right? I mean, just sit with that for a second. Our digestive system. It's crazy how yesterday's lunch turns into Bronie. Bronie, your nose is yesterday's hamburger.
Oh, thanks.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Your face is yesterday's pizza or whatever it is you ate. Somehow the food you ate got turned into you. What? How does that happen? Come on, people. You get that's amazing, right? So that's the first part of the digestive system. It's huge. But there's a second part to not the digestive system, although you could conceive of it that way, the metabolic system. There's a second meta system, we'll say. And in a way, these are two parts of the same system. It could be they could be looked at as one big system. But we're going to break it up into this digestive system and the metabolic system. And just like the digestive system takes big food, big chunks, sandwiches, steaks, whatever, broccolis, and turns them into amino acids and fatty acids and sugars, etc. Once these substances get into the bloodstream through the intestine, they get further broken down. And they get further broken down, the proteins and the fats and carbohydrates, into at least the fats and the carbohydrates, and to a certain extent the amino acids as well. They get further broken down into sugar, everything, glucose, if you will, because the body's prime need is energy. So your aminos get broken down into glucose, not all of them, but some of them get broken down into glucose. Some of them just go to building things and making things. Your fats get broken down to glucose. Your sugars get broken down to glucose, and that glucose enters into another miracle. I mean, there's so many miracles in the body, but this is even. Sometimes I think about it and I just got to stop. I can't even believe what's going on here. It's just so crazy, and it's right under our noses. And we worry about our rent and the New World Order and our government and this and that and the other thing. And we got this freaking beyond belief, otherworldly, miraculous thing that we're riding around in, calling our bodies. It's so nano-architected and regulated and choreographed and structured that even at the quantum level, the atomic level, you've got order and intelligence and responsiveness. It's just mind-boggling. I mean, you've got millions of things happening in a cell at any second. At any second. How? What? How does that happen? How can millions of things happen in a second? Bronie, help me. How can millions of things happen in a second?
Through the grace of God. That's how.
That's about it. That's where God comes in. Pharmacy school, when there was something that nobody understood, they go OGK on the board. OGK. Only God knows. That's all they do. That's how it is in pharmacy school. Because we study these things, and you're like, how the heck does this happen? Praise Jesus. That's all I can say. I don't know how it happened. So anyway, well, you can't figure out how it happens, Bronwyn. You can be in awe of it. And awe is a very important emotion. Our God is an awful God. You ever hear that? Our God is an awful God. What does that mean? It means awful. Not like we use it in the vernacular, but awe. Like, whoa. It brings you to your knees. So when I think about these organelles are structures within cells. They call them organelles, like little organs. Isn't that cool? They got little organs in a cell. You got organelles inside a cell. And there's one organelle that you have 100,000, 10, 100,000, even up to 1,000,000 of these organelles in a cell, which is 1/100th the size of a head of a pin, and so small you couldn't see it. It was right in front of your eyes. It's invisible. But within there, you've got 100,000 or so, or maybe more, mitochondria. And these mitochondria, you're going to hear about this more and more. You're already starting to hear it over the last 10 to 15 years. If you're in the health field, you're hearing more about mitochondria, mitochondrial medicine, mitochondrial dysfunction, but it's going to become even more well known, because if you had to pick one thing that's destroying our bodies, it's mitochondrial dysfunction by the swamping, the saturating of the mitochondria with sugar. The mitochondria's job is to take the sugar and turn it into energy. And how it does it, I'm not going to tell you, because you wouldn't believe it if I told you. How the mitochondria turns glucose into ATP is just off the chain. So I won't go there, because I couldn't do justice to it and try to explain it. And one day maybe I'll figure out how to phrase it so you can see the immensity and the majesty and the awesomeness and the awfulness of the whole enterprise. So the mitochondria's job is to take the sugar and turn it into energy. So step one is the digestive system that breaks everything down into its individual components. Step two is the the transmutation of those individual components into glucose and then into energy. That second part is the metabolic system. The first part is the digestive system. Both systems are the foundation, the meta system, the system of systems. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You see how important those are? That's why you focus on those two elements. And one of my things is, and when I die, and I want this on my tombstone, is that I simplified everything, that I made it simple. It's not complicated. They want you to think it's complicated. Do you ever sign up for an app on the computer on your phone or some kind of computer service of some kind, and you get a document that you're supposed to sign that's 80 pages of tiny little fine print that there's no
That
way you
I
could
can't even
possibly.
read.
What's that? You can't even read. You can't understand. Even if you did read, you couldn't understand. You have to pay somebody $400 an hour or $500 an hour to translate it for you. Why do they do that? Why at every turn are we led to believe or encouraged to believe or set up to believe that we're stupid and we can't do it? That we are too ignorant to understand the complexities of the legal system or the political system or, worst of all, the biological system in health. They want us to do that. That's why they write the prescriptions in Latin. Your doctor doesn't speak Latin. Do they write it in Latin? I'm sure they do in Australia. Everything's in Latin. What the heck? If you
Yeah.
We had to study Latin in pharmacy school because we had to that the prescriptions are all written in Latin. Why is that? Why is it your disease names are all in Latin? Latin is the great language controller of humanity. Latin is through religion. In the old
Mm.
days, they used Latin.
Yeah. They do.
That's how they control the people. They would say something. I don't know what the heck they said. But, you ever hear them speaking in Latin? Nobody knows what the heck they're saying, and they're just saying it. It's a way of taking our power away from us.
Mm.
The worst of all, though, is in medicine and health because we go through our lives, especially my good friends in Australia and New Zealand and in other countries where medicine's free. That's where it's the worst. We go through our lives helpless.
Yeah.
It's a horrible situation to be helpless in your body. Praise God. I'm so thankful I'm not. I know there before the grace of God go I, so I'm so humble about it because I don't know what the heck's about to hit me as we all do. But I'm lucky that I can reduce the likelihood, reduce the odds because I know I've studied the body for so long. I've really studied the body for so long, so I can mitigate the odds. Doesn't mean I'm safe though. But for my friends who have no idea about why they're breaking out, why their eyes are messed up, why they got the glaucoma. The doctor's saying we got to cut this out, we got to take that out, we got to give you this drug. I don't know. I don't know what my gallbladder does. Just take the darn thing. I know it hurts. Just take it out. We have this attitude that it's so complicated that we need an authority to teach us to do it for us, that we can't do it anymore. And I'm here to tell you, you can. We all can. It's in the body's nature to heal. And it's not complicated because it's all engineering. It's not medicine. It's engineering. So if you can understand how things are put together, you can understand the body. You don't need medicine. Medicine doesn't help us. Clearly. Now, surgical medicine, obviously, I always make that distinction between heroic medicine and ambulatory medicine, but the body is simple. It's fluid dynamics. It's an engineering system that's based in fluid dynamics, how fluids move. It's all about how fluids move. Doesn't you follow what I'm saying? Does this make sense? It's all fluid dynamics. What is the fluid? The blood. Leviticus, the life of the flesh is in the blood because it's fluid dynamics. All disease is cell disease, but all cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. Dirty blood arises from toxicity that gets into the blood through the digestive system, largely through food and also through sugar. And then that large flux of energy gets dumped into cells, which fry, short circuit, burn out. We get eye disease, glaucoma, osteoporosis, pancreatic disease, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, all of it. We get all of it after that. And so what's simple about this is you cut the head off a snake. The Gordian knot. You remember the Gordian knot? I told the story of the Gordian knot. Didn't I tell you the story of the Gordian knot, Bronwyn?
Oh,
Did we talk about that?
a long time ago.
Yeah, so Alexander the Great, he was great. He was 33 years old when he accomplished all his stuff in 33 years or so, right? Incredible, genius, studied under Socrates. Was it Socrates? Or Aristotle. He studied under Aristotle. Incredible guy, right? And by the way, one of his famous quotes when he died, he said, I am dying. Check this out. This is probably 300, 200 BC, something like that. He said, I am dying at the hands of too many doctors. Can you believe this? He said that. He said that back then. He said that I'm dying at the hand of too many doctors. This is how long this situation has been going on, right? That's a long time. That's ancient history, right? so,
And people
so
are still dying at the hands of too
and they're
many
still,
doctors.
and they're still. So anyway, Alexander
Lesson
the
not
Great is,
learnt.
what's that?
The lesson's not been learnt.
Yes, it's the same stuff. We do the same, insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Anyway, so he's traveling through the Mediterranean. He's doing his conquering thing. He comes to a country called Gordia. And in the country of Gordia, before you get into the country, it's in the forest. There were trees. There was a big, huge, complicated knot on a tree. And the legend had it that whoever could get rid of the knot, to untangle the knot, would become king of Gordia forever. So Alexander is riding along. He comes to the Gordian knot, and he says, "What is this?" They explained to him, "You're going to be king forever if you could figure out how to detangle this knot." And Alexander the Great, studied under Aristotle, super smart, incredible general, says, "Really?" And so he says, "Okay, no problem." He takes his knife, boom, his sword, he cuts the knot. I'm king of Gordia. He just cut it. That's all you do. You don't pull the knot out. You cut the knot. What is your metabolic rate and what is your BMR and your creatinine level and your cholesterol level and all the different metrics that your TSH and your BMR and your insulin and this, that, and the other, and the tests like this long with different levels of potassium and sodium, all based on reference rate. No, you work on your digestive system and your metabolic system. That's it. And how do you do that? How do you do that? By controlling what you eat. Now, how do you do that? By eating as little as possible. Eating as little as possible is the secret. You do need to eat, obviously, but as little as possible, and you need to eat a lot less than you think you do. And that dampens the disturbances on this system. The system is like this. And then you put food in, it goes like this. You see that? I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. It goes like this. Boom, boom. You want to keep the system dampened. And that's the secret to everything. Why does nutrition work? The mighty 90 essential nutrients, they dampen the system. They keep the system flowing. So it's not like this and this and this. When we're sick, it's like this and this and this.
Yeah.
Nutrition controls it. It homogenizes it, uniform, makes it more uniform. That's how the body wants. The body doesn't like spikes. No engineering system likes spikes. Engineering systems need to have the energy like this. If they have spikes, they have to have a system for adjusting the spikes quickly, and the body does. The body has many systems for doing that. But you don't want to burden those systems. And so the key is in the food, not because I'm a food guy, but because I'm an engineering guy. I'm talking about it from an engineering perspective, not from don't eat that, eat this, that kind of preachy, eat your vegetables thing that nobody wants to hear, right? Nobody wants to hear eat your vegetables. Nobody wants to hear don't eat the fries. Nobody wants to hear your diet is loud. Nobody wants to hear it. You know what I'm saying? And anybody out there who's a distributor, if you do it, you're not going to, people aren't going to like it. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to hear that. But from an engineering perspective, if you're sick, this represents a point of power, of leverage. And so work on those two systems. So you asked me about, this was all about the eyes, right?
That's
what
right.
the heck's, why am I talking about all this? That's how you work on the eyes. That's how you work on the eyes. You work on the intestine and you work on the metabolic system. And if you guys had not been coming to these talks for like what now, 2 years or how long we've been doing them?
Just over 2 years. 2 years.
Just over 2 years.
April.
Can't even believe that, right? That's crazy to me, but that's how it is. You guys have been coming to these talks for 2 years, and I've been saying these things for a long time. But if you just heard them for the first time, you think I was off my rocker. You go, what the heck? What's the intestine got to do with my eye? I want my eyes. Who cares about my intestine? I'm talking about my eyes. That's because we don't see the systems thing. So if you want to take care of your eyes, first and foremost, you take care of your intestine and your metabolic system, the first 2 points in the triangle of disease. Now, that being said, the eyes and the skin are on the outside of the body. So they are subject to extra forces that you can control by targeting the eyes. And one of the classic examples, and the skin as well, and one of the classic examples is pigments. Pigments, reds, oranges, greens, blues, purples, all the Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, green, blue, indigo, violet. I don't remember. Roy G. Biv. Did you guys do Roy G. Biv when you were in elementary school? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Those are the pigments. Those are colors. Colors are incredible. You know, God didn't put colors just because they look pretty. God put colors on the planet because they are super, super active electrically. That's why plants are in the sun all day long. They never get skin cancer. The pigments protect the plants. The way pigments work is they absorb light. They're light absorbers. And you have pigments in your eye. Why do you think you'd have pigments in your eye?
Because it's a light absorber.
Hello, it's a light absorber. So pigments absorb light. In plants, they absorb light. And it's really interesting how they absorb light. When you see red, that pigment, that molecule, say it's a carotene that's red or orange, that molecule is actually absorbing everything but red. You're seeing what's left over, what's spit back. It's absorbing all the other colors of the spectrum, and what's left is the red, which means orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, the colors are being sucked up. Now, quick digression here. What's a color? What is a color? Do you think there's any red out there or green out there? I'm going to give a brownie point to anybody who can tell me what a color is.
I'm sure somewhere.
Did you ever wonder what a color is? That beautiful pink or purple? I noticed how you love purple. It's purple, right? You have a thing about purple, don't you? Or is it pink? Or
well,
fuchsia?
it's actually kind of cross between purple and pink.
But you like that color, whatever that is.
Actually, green's my favorite color.
Oh, green is your favorite color. But I notice you wear that color a lot. So we all have colors we like, but what is a color? I hear dead silence out there.
Good question.
I'll give you a clue. There ain't no color out there. Nothing. There's no color. Colors created in your brain. Not even black and white. Colors created in your brain. We create color. How do we create color? A color it's the coolest thing when I tell you what it is. It's the movement or the on-off of energy. When something has an on-off of 1, let's pretend you take your light switch and you turn your light switch on and off. We say that has a frequency of 1 time per second is really what it is, but we say 1. You do it twice, it's 2 times per second. Can you feel that? You do it 3 times, almost impossible to do 3 times. But if you did it, theoretically, it'd be 3 times a second. And we say the frequency is 1, the frequency is 2, the frequency is 3. Frequency means how frequently something is going on and off.
Okay.
And that something is energy. It's blinking on and off. Now, that alone is pretty astounding because where the heck's it going when it's off? That's something to consider, you know? That's a whole nother metaphysical. Now we're entering into the realm of like a whole different place, right? And by the way, you want to hear something really cool? I don't know how much you want to know here, but any engineers out there, any electrical people out there?
I don't know.
All right. So the on-off, which is the fundamental nature of everything, of reality that we see, is on-off frequency. Everything's frequency. Everything's energy going on and off. Is measured by something that you learned about in high school, probably hated, unless you're a geek like me, or there's math geeks out there who like this, or engineers for sure. The on-off is measured this way, where on goes up, and then it goes off, and then it goes up, and then it goes off, like this. If you graphed it if you put it on a graph, the on-off would look like this. Can you see? I don't know if you can see, like this. Yeah, what does this look like? What does this look like? What's this even called? Does anybody know?
Sine curve.
It's called a sine wave. Yeah. Okay. What does sine mean in Latin? S-I-N-E. You ready for what it means?
Yes.
Snake.
Well,
This
looks
is
like a
why
snake, doesn't
this
it?
is this is why snakes were always considered to be sacred. Snakes have always been the Caudicus, and the Egyptians and ancient religions. They worship the snake because the snake represents the sine wave, the fundamental code of nature. And so, what does it got to do with the eyes? What does it got to do with color? When something goes on and off once and twice or three times, we call it. We give it a we say it has a frequency of 1, 2, and 3. But there are things in nature, such as radio waves and
Yeah.
X-rays and gamma rays, and all of this energy everywhere that only varies by the amount of times it goes on and off. The visible spectrum, what we see, red, orange, yellow, blue, green, indigo, violet, is just a very, very narrow band of the spectrum. And each color is this frequency. It's an on-off, except the on-off isn't 1, 2, 3. It's trillions. No, it's hundreds of trillions of times a second. And if something is 400 trillion times a second, it'll be blue. If it's 500 trillion times a second, it'll be indigo. The number of trillions of times, I'm not sure what the exact number is, so don't hold me to that, but the number of trillions of times a second determines the color. So when something hits your eyes, the subatomic particles, the tiniest particles, the electrons and the protons, the tiniest thing, when a piece of energy hits your eyes at a certain rate, your eyes start to vibrate trillions of times a second, you see red. Or you imagine red. It activates a part of your brain that imagines red. All that's happening is things moving. However, these things that are moving really fast have an ability to magnetically pull in or to attract light, and that's why they're in your eyes. And as we age, this part of the eye deteriorates. That part of the eye is called the macula. And as that deteriorates, you lose the ability to see. You lose the ability to your macula doesn't function as effectively. Macular degeneration, you've all heard that term. But that's where the pigments are. But that degenerative capacity, ability happens everywhere in the body. You just feel it in your eyes. And so while the metabolic system and the digestive system are the two systems that you want to focus on for most of the body, because of the skin and the eyes' proximity externally, where they're going to be subject to these forces, nature has equipped them with specific types of nutrients that are especially important, and that's the pigments. Eat your broccoli, your greens, your eggplant, your squashes, especially squashes, because that part of the spectrum, the orange-red part of the spectrum, is especially important for eye health. And so working on the with reds and oranges like squash and cantaloupe and watermelon and any sweet potato, all of these red and orange ones are especially important for the eyes. And whenever you make these kinds of vegetables with pigments, use butter, because the pigments will come out in the butter. And then, in addition to the pigments, you use your nutrients. And Occutive is great. It has not only pigments in it, lutein, zeaxanthin, these kinds of ingredients you've all seen. These are pigments. But also, it has electrical dampeners. Like we talked about dampening, how you keep the energy steady. There's dampening nutrients such as taurine and selenium and N-acetylcysteine and vitamin E. And so there's extra nutrients you could take. Like the reason I'm telling you this is because for most of the part inside of the body, you work on the digestive system and the blood sugar system. But because this is on the outside of the body, there's extra things you could do. And Occutive has all of those. Vision FX has all of those. And then in addition to all of that, you work on the two systems, the digestive system and the blood sugar system.
Very good.
There you go.
All right, I got an extra bundle while you were talking. She just wanted to be fed.
An extra what? What did you get? Is that your grandbaby?
Yeah, a granddaughter.
Very cute.
4.5 months old.
Very, very cute.
And with all the flooding here, she's now stuck here.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Hang on. Let me find you. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yvonne.
I went to the optometrist this morning. That's why I'm late. And my pressures in the eye have gone down to 11 and 13 from about 16 to 19. And I'm taking an Optive.
There you go.
There you
There
go.
you go. There you go. I'll tell you what, we'll give you a free bottle if you'll write that down in a letter and send it to Bronie.
Yeah,
I'm serious because listen, I could talk till I'm blue in the face, but I don't have anywhere near the credibility you do. And your skin looks a lot better too, by the way, Yvonne, I have to say.
It's getting a lot better. Yeah.
Praise Jesus. Look at that. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Share. Oh, just trying to take the right things. Just my 90.
Isn't that beautiful? A lot better. Heck of a lot better. That's how fast the body heals.
Skin's looking good too, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. It certainly is. A lot better. Oh my God. That 2 weeks ago when I saw it, or maybe 3, whenever that was.
Oh, I think it's probably 4 weeks, isn't it?
It was that long ago. It was on fire. It came through Zoom. Came all the way from Australia to me here in Colorado. I could tell. Holy cow! But God bless you. That's beautiful, Yvonne. That's really, really cool. Thank you. Share with your friends. Tell all your friends who feel like there's no hope. Tell all your friends. That's the greatest thing you can do, you guys, is tell everybody. Thank you, Yvonne. That's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. And can you see Michelle's comment in the chat?
No, share. Let me see here. I'll tell you. I never look at the chat. I have a customer who's read that once you start bilberry. Oh my God. No, that's not true. I'll just leave it at that. I'll just leave it at that. It's definitely not true. Who told? I can only imagine who. Oh, she read it somewhere. I said, no, it's not true. Bilberry is very mild. It's not gonna change your life either way. It's not gonna hurt. It's not gonna really, make any big dramatic changes. But you don't have to worry about stopping bilberry. Absolutely not.
Oh dear.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you, Yvonne, and thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Is that Michelle Graham?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Oh, Michelle. Hi, Michelle.
Hello, Ben. How you doing?
Who said that? Just anybody I know, or anybody you told me about?
Just a new customer that's come, and I don't know. She's probably got it off Google, I would think. So.
That's one of the things we're going to get to learn in this information age when, there's so much out there. It's like this drinking out of a fire hose to try information, is you got to have discretion.
Yes.
You got to know what to believe, what not to believe, what passes the BS test, what doesn't, because it's a morass out there. And I believe it's actually a good thing because it's going to teach us to be able to critically think. The biggest weakness we have as human beings is we don't critically think. We don't process. We operate with what are called heuristics. Have you ever heard the term heuristics? Shortcuts. We take mental shortcuts. We jump to conclusions. We fill in the gaps. We judge a book by its cover. And that predilection to not critically think is manipulated to make it worse.
Yeah.
So we're manipulated in order to get us to do things, to be persuasive, and people who get PhDs in how to do that. So once we learn how to critically think, it's going to be a whole brand new world. Once we learn how to process information, and this glut that is just out there, like, I don't know that she's read that, but I imagine she could have easily have read that. You gotta learn how to cut through all of that, and that's why I'm here as best as I can do it, and as many people as I can talk to, and Bronie as well, and really a lot of you guys. That's a role you want to take on, as we're here to help people parse through the glut of data that we're all being blown up with at any time. Me personally, as a researcher, I love it. If for researchers, people who like to research, you're like in hog heaven. There's so much. I get smarter every freaking day, not because of people's opinions or studies or epidemiology, but because of information about how the body is constructed at all its different levels, from the tissue level to the organ level to the cell level to the quantum level to all of these things play a very important role in how the body shows up. And for a guy like me, I can't tell you what a joy it is to be in this information age. But to people who aren't making a living or making their life about information and data gathering and critical thinking, that's a job. That's a job you have to do, because there are going to be people who tell you don't use bilberry. They'll tell you to use this skincare product. They'll tell you to use this nutritional supplement. In our business, Bronwyn, why do you think I go out of my way to tell you how everything works and not say take this, take that? Because I want you bought in. I want this to be logical to you. I don't want you doing it as a mental shortcut because I said to do it ever. Ever, 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 ever. I want you to understand and make your own decision because that's how we learn. You know, that you process it through your head, you see if it makes sense, and then the scientific method, you take your hypothesis and you test it out and see what happens, and you just proceed. And that's, as much as science has, created a big mess, there is the scientific method, which is really important on how you live your life, by hypothesis and by testing and by going back and rehypothesizing and then retesting and on and on and on until you find the right solution. And that's what we want to do with information. So for this person, stop taking bilberries, see what happens. See what happens. That's what I would do. Do a scientific experiment. There's no real logic to that happening. But all right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm on my philosophical high horse today.
I can understand that. I have a couple of questions that have come in.
This is the fourth call I did today, you guys.
Well, you're on fire then, aren't you?
I am on fire, but now I'm just going to say whatever I think, whatever I want to say.
All right. Well,
it's good though. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's not.
We do. We always enjoy you, Ben. I had a couple of questions come in, and I'm going to start with the last one first because of the nature of it. And this lady asked, if I could ask you, what helps between chemo or lymphoma? She has a friend who's just started chemo a month ago, and doctors said she would die by September if she didn't have chemo. She is taking her PET scan next week to
now how is it late?
Cancer.
Can you imagine what that must sound like to somebody who doesn't know what's going on? You're going to be dead if you don't do this.
It's scary. It's scary. Scary. It's a scare tactic, isn't it?
Awful. It's awful. Imagine you don't know what's going on. Doctor tells you that you think you're nobody. He's the god of biology in the body, and he tells you you're going to do that. Of course, what are you going to do? Now I don't know what kind of cancer she has. I don't know what kind of chemo.
Chemo for the lymph node.
Okay, so you have lymph nodes. Okay, so there's never a situation where nutrition's not going to help. A, I don't know, maybe she's severely undernutriated, and it may help her even with her cancer. But B, it will mitigate the awfulness of chemotherapy because chemotherapy kills things. That's how it works.
Yeah. See,
a cancer cell is us. It's not like there's cancer and there's us. A cancer cell is you. The person that has the cancer their cells are now they're growing out of control, but they're not different cells. They're just cells that have been so frustrated that they're now resorting to the only thing they can do to survive, which is to divide rapidly. See, a cancer cell is a cell that has been toxic, starved, and suffocated for so long, it doesn't know what else to do. And by that I mean, in order for a liver cell or a white blood cell for this gal, or a lymph cell, or a bone cell, or whatever kind of cancer cell you have, or cancer you have, in order for that cell to become a bone or become a tissue, become a liver, it has to have just the right balance of nutrition and oxygen and cleanliness so that it can become a liver cell, i.e. a hepatocyte. A hepatocyte is a very complex structure. A cell is, I just said earlier how there's all these things happening, millions of things happening a second. It's got structure and organization and intelligence. All this is very complicated. I know that we can't really appreciate how complicated, but just appreciate that it is complicated. And all this complication requires nutrition and oxygen and energy and good stuff so it can be a hepatocyte, a liver cell. When that cell has been toxified and suffocated and starved for so long, it's like, you know what? I'm not going to be a liver cell. I'm at my wit's end. You've been poisoning me. You've been talking to us. You've been poisoning me. You've been starving me. You've been suffocating me. Forget it. I ain't going to be a liver cell. I'm on my own. I'm off later. And what it does is, instead of being a liver cell, it just becomes a dividing cell. It's not a liver cell. It's a out of control liver cell that has gone backwards in evolution to where it's no longer organized and structured and intelligent, and it's like a bacteria. Bacteria are very primitive cells. They don't make organs. There's no, organ anywhere that's made up of bacterial cells. Bacteria just divide. They form slimes because they're primitive. That's what a cancer cell is. And the point I'm making is a cancer cell is still your cell. It just doesn't know what to do. And this strategy of trying to kill it, it most of the time doesn't work. It does work sometimes. But when it does work, it works temporarily because you haven't corrected the situation that caused the problem in the first place. And that's why they say you'll never get cured of cancer. What they mean is we can't cure your cancer. What they mean is our strategies don't work because we're not addressing the terrain, the ground, the soil that the cancer seed is growing in. On the other hand, if you change the soil, the cancer ain't coming back. So for this person, it depends on how far along down the rabbit hole they are. But certainly, they can feel better when they're on chemotherapy by using the Mighty 90 essential nutrients. All of them. Here's the problem. And this is almost ironic and funny, but not funny, but just, bizarre. The oncologists don't want you to use the Mighty 90 essential nutrients because they want to kill things. And they'll tell you,
don't take that.
Don't take that. It'll counteract the poison, which is not true.
I've had clients that refuse to take any of what
I know. It's not
for that
true.
very reason.
That's what they say. As it turns out, the opposite is true. You'll actually make the chemotherapy more effective, and you'll be able to use less chemotherapy. You'll be able to reduce your dose on chemotherapy, and you'll feel a lot better. But that's not how they think. And guess what? If there's me and there's some oncologist from, I forgot the name, Sloan Kettering or some great cancer center here in the United States. I forgot the one they have in Houston, some big one. And there's some guy with a medical degree. And then there's Ben, Pharmacist Ben, talking about the metabolic system and the digestive system and, this, that, and the other, and pigments and frequencies. I ain't going to win. The oncologist is going to win. Fine. More power to him. But if you know how to critically think, you'll understand what I just said. You'll work on the terrain. You'll work on the soil. You'll work on the sugar and the oxygen and the nutritional supplementation. And you'll say to the doctor, you know what, doc? I love you, buddy. I'll do the chemotherapy, but I'm getting all my supplements. And that's what you can say that. I can't say that for you, but you can say that. It's your right to say that. And if he says, you know what, then I'm not going to treat you, say, fine, I'll find another doc. Because it's your right to do that. Now, I'm not telling you to do it, but you could do it.
Yeah. I had another client who actually did take our nutrients and things, and thankfully her oncologist was
on board,
and she fought it and won.
Praise God.
Now cancer-free.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome.
She worked on all the tests anyway, so she feels great.
Worked on the soil. Yeah. We have control over our soil, over our terrain. We don't have control over the thing
our
that's
body, our choice.
It's our body. We decide. Soil, a seed does not grow in soil that's not conducive to its growth. You got to have the soil ready. And in the body, the soil for bacteria and germs and infectious material and all the things that, we consider the bad guys, the soil is sugar and excitotoxins and cigarette smoke and drugs and all the things that we do to pollute our soil. We have polluted soil.
Yeah. So I had another question here. What is good to drink before bed to help with to lose belly fat overnight? Someone had told this lady
I don't know what you could drink, but
vinegar, honey, water, cinnamon, pepper.
I don't know what you could drink, but I know that Longevity is working on this magic wand that's like this big, and you wave it over your belly before you go to sleep, and you lose weight. That's a joke.
No.
That's a joke.
I mean, look, if you take care of your gut.
There's no magic wand and there's no drink that you're going to drink before you go to bed, except they'll make you maybe go to the bathroom and you might urinate stuff out. That's crazy.
And she also wanted to know, will eating a lot of watermelon help with weight loss? Well, I suppose
no, it's not going to help you with weight loss at all. I mean, I'm trying to think of what even the logic is of it. No, weight loss or weight gain is a sign that the body is Most times. There's other things that can go wrong too, but most times it's a sign that the body is overnourished. There's too much energy coming in. This is the big problem. This is the second point on the triangle of disease. The first point on the triangle of disease is too much food coming in, too much bulk coming into the system, and bulk that doesn't have the natural juices and natural chemicals that pre-digest the bulk for us. That's how bulk is supposed to be eaten, whether you're eating vegetable bulk or meat bulk or fish bulk. What you're eating is enzyme. If you're eating right, you're eating the nutrients in the fish and in the meat and beef and in the plants that help your body digest that. But we have created a food supply that is mostly 70, maybe 80% ultra processed.
Yeah.
Meaning there's no more of those cofactors because the elements in an ultra processed food are not food. The elements, the things that make the ultra processed food, are not food on their own. They're manipulated chemistry. And so the whole concoction put together is called ultra processed food, and it's what most of us are ingesting. So the real big problem is the glut of substances that are coming into the body through ultra processed food and through energy. And so the only way to really get rid of weight is to control the input of nourishment into the system, and then to move, to exercise, to do things. Now, I said mostly because there's hormones that are involved too. Estrogen can be particularly a big problem, but even that can be backtracked to the digestive system. So work on the first 2 points in the triangle of disease. And eating, eating's for kids. And I'm not judging anybody because I eat way more than I need to eat too, and I know exactly what that's like. If you're not eating when your stomach is saying please eat, then you're eating too much. Your stomach has to be really saying, please eat, not that grumbling. We know what that grumbling is, right? That grumbling is not, that doesn't mean you're hungry. That's not when you're hungry. No. Check in with your belly, and your belly will tell you. And if you eat anyway, which I do all the time, by the way, there's a price to be paid.
Well, if you're nutritionally deficient, you'll eat all the wrong things. Your body will.
And then if you get that's right. That's one of the cool things about supplementing with micronutrients is your body can use the macronutrients more effectively. So you don't need as much protein, fat, and carbohydrate to get the energy. Remember, it's all about turning it into glucose into energy. Your body is better equipped to turn all that food into energy when it has vitamin C, when it has vitamin E, when it has ionic plant-derived minerals, when it has essential fatty acids, when it has the micronutrients. And that's really the job, and that's a distinction that you don't really hear too many people make between macronutrition and micronutrition.
Very true.
Macronutrition is the protein, fats, and carbs. The micronutrition helps you use the protein, fats, and carbs. And because our food doesn't have the micronutrients, the proteins, fats, and carbs are devoid, or at least deficient in the micronutrients. As soon as you start taking micronutrients with your macronutrients, you get more bang for your buck. Your body can utilize those macronutrients more effectively, and you don't need as much. And that's why people lose weight on the micronutrient supplement program. So that's another important weight loss strategy.
Very true.
I don't know about watermelon. I don't know about the watermelon part.
I don't know either. But anyway, that's all the questions that I have had sent to me. So
anybody out there
has any other questions? We are coming close to the hour, so
that's good. I got a bolt anyway, so God bless everybody.
All right. So as I ask you all nicely here in Bronie's world to stay safe, stay informed, be empowered, but do not live in fear, my friends. And look, let's face it, if we're having the mighty 90, then we too will be brilliant, beautiful, brave, and powerful, and everything else. And God bless you, Ben, and thank you for coming, everyone.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Here at Bronie's desk, and we will catch you tomorrow here in Bronie's world. Bye for now.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.